You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask Drone U. As always, my name is Paul, and we have a very special guest, right, Rob?
We have a very special guest that we are incredibly excited to introduce to you, although I don't know how much of an introduction it is because so many of you already know him.
Well, and I think that brings up an important point, Rob, which is we are here to discuss, PJ and expanding Drone U and our props personnel, our flight crew, as you would call it. And I know a lot of you thought PJ was really already on board, and he was one of our best instructors ever. But Rob, we saw a gift in PJ and his ability to lead and his ability to deliver content from experience. So we're really excited to announce PJ being on board as our Director of Operations.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, PJ, so welcome to your first podcast in quite some time. I think the last one that you did with us was on SAR, and you started it with, I'm a failure.
Yeah. Well, now I guess I'm moved from that to a success, into the Drone U space anyway.
Well, I think that it's an important point, right, that we learn more kind of from failure than we do from success.
Yep.
Agreed.
I fail every day.
So PJ,
the goal.
So tell us more about you. Again, a lot of people knew or thought you were already on board with us. Now you're on board with us full time as Director of Operations for Drone U and our props platform, which is our enterprise commercial platform for drones, teams, and programs. But tell us a little bit about your background, where you've come from, and kind of the runway up and until this point.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the quick and dirty, my background, I've played at Sprint for a number of years, 18 years in the telecommunication industry as a radio frequency engineer, and actually left that space, corporate world, to pursue a business, and I started a drone business because I saw the benefits drone had actually in the telecommunication industry. Unfortunately, at the time, it was kind of a slow adoption. However, through that, I've discovered the construction was very eagerly to adopt drones into their space, so I spent a lot of time mapping the first couple of years, and at the time there was no classes for me to take, so it was learn as you went, right? So I've developed my own processes, and companies I worked for identified that, they'd send me on missions that no one's done, like, PJ will figure it out and then he'll document it and we'll reproduce it. So that's kind of where my strength laid, is figuring stuff out and trying to duplicate that.
That's awesome. Now, you were working for another company before this. Mm-hmm. So what brought you back? I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what it took.
Yeah, so I mean, previous to this, I was working in the manufacturing space, manufacturing drones for the military, tethered drones. And then we saw that there was definitely a need and request for additional training. And that was really my passion. I really enjoyed training people on the road. I kind of got a lot out of that, having that immediate gratification of, having a student never touching sticks before, taking them through the Drone U flight mastery course, and then, a day or two, they're flying our obstacle course, doing figure eights, and, it's kind of nice to see that confidence grow in such a short amount of time. So I actually got a lot of that immediate gratification, enjoyed that.
Yeah, to that point, as we've alluded to, you've actually been training for Drone U for several years. One of our first, certainly part of the initial group of Drone U elite instructors.
Yeah, so time flies. You just aged me. Thank you, Rob.
Well, hey, I aged myself right along with you, PJ. Fortunately, we're about the same age. I think he's older than me.
No,
who's counting? Anyways, so you've been training for us for quite a while. Obviously, we've brought you into this more formal director of operations role, which we're super excited about. And anybody that has ever trained with PJ just raves about the experience and the way you go about it, the respect with which you treat people. There's just so many amazing attributes that we hear from other people about you, which is fantastic. And many more of you will get to experience that down the road, I'm sure. But one of the things I would really love to hear about from you that sort of goes back to the importance of experience-based training from DroneU and props, right? That is the tenet of everything that we do, is that it's got to be based in experience. Somebody who's teaching you how to do something better have learned the hard lessons that they can share with you by doing it themselves. So I want to know some more about what experience is like. What are a couple of the most interesting things that you've worked on in industry, not in training?
Sure. So I guess in industry, so one summer I spent probably 90% of the time flying a tethered drone for
Not many people can say that, by the way.
yeah, the whole summer, and keeping the drone in the air for like 4 hours at a time was, for the contract. And, I thought flying a tethered drone would be simple, but it's actually harder than flying an untethered drone, to be honest with you.
And you may or may not have crashed a couple of them.
Yeah, there's a few that I've crashed, but
that was not user error, by the way.
Pilot error.
That was not pilot error.
Well, I think it goes to show too, with various types of drone operations like tethered stuff, there's so many nuances just within that particular type of aircraft,
Absolutely. And being able to respond to emergency situations, I've encountered so many, I often tell students that it's not a question of if something bad's going to happen during a mission, it's when it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you got to really prepare yourself for those situations, and trying to figure stuff on the fly without thinking about them is not the time to do them. So it's nice to be able to, help students learn from some of my mistakes or experiences,
Absolutely.
How to handle certain situations, because I haven't faced all of them, but I've definitely faced quite a few.
Yeah, it's significantly more, most likely, than any of the folks that we'd be training. And I think there's another engagement that at least it interests me, and that is just not too far south from here on Pikes Peak.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty cool engagement that you were a part of.
Oh, yeah, that was a fantastic opportunity. So a couple of years ago, actually during the pandemic, the Pikes Peak International Race has never been filmed live before. And so we had an opportunity to demonstrate that it could be done, and you did that with drones. We created a mesh network on the mountain, and we're able to film that race live on the internet. I was up in the air for 10 hours at a time at around 11,000 feet AGL, or no,
Wow.
MSL. No, yeah, 11,000 feet.
Way up there, whatever L you want to use.
200 feet AGL, 11,000 feet MSL. Yeah, 10 hours at a time. It was a fantastic
intense.
opportunity. I love to have that opportunity. So
Yeah. So some pretty intense stuff that
Yeah.
you've been a part of. And
I
that's
like
just a couple examples.
I like being the first to do things, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
I think it's easy to say that.
Yeah, it's a metaphor for life.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that PJ has a lot of stamina. So when it comes to drone operations,
Flattery will get you everywhere, Paul.
hey. But coming on board here at DroneU, kind of focusing more on props. The reason we brought you on board is that we see education in a very different way than just about every one of our competitors, of which half we've trained. And we see it that any information that we give out has to be born from experience, right? You have to have lived it. You have to have gone through the issues. We can take that one step further and say, okay, that in multiple types of environments, right? Because you run into different problems. But then there's the second piece of it, which is the ability to deliver that information in a way that's relatable, retainable, not really conflict bearing, in a way that people enjoy. And so here at DroneU, we were so excited to bring you on board as Director of Operations to really help scale drone programs through props, but also scale our instruction and our in-person trainings with our instructors. And a lot of people have said, how come DroneU's competitors have so many more trainers? And I think this is a great opportunity to help showcase your ideology and how we have really brought that fully on board with you and scaling our own instructors.
Sure, yeah. Well, I can't answer the question of why they have so many instructors. I can articulate why DroneU doesn't have as many as they do. Is one of the reasons is that the requirements to become a DroneU elite instructor is actually very high bar. Not everybody that wants to be a drone U Elite instructor actually becomes a drone U Elite instructor, right? You touch on a couple of points. It's not only just be able to fly a drone, you have to be able to demonstrate your experience in that vertical that you're going to be training in, right?
So and communicate effectively.
Exactly. And, I won't pretend that I know everything about every drone mission. For example, you're a significantly better videographer than I am. I'm a black and white engineer kind of guy. I think in ones and zeros.
But that's good because then we cover the creative vertical and the technical vertical,
yeah, that's
right?
right. Yeah, I'm very methodical when it comes to that. So on the mapping side, that's kind of where my strong point. And helping. We worked a lot with public safety agencies throughout my career, so definitely have some experience in that arena as well. So.
But as an example, there's some folks that you've been working with. So one of PJ's roles here as Director of Operations is going to be to grow our network of Drone U Elite instructors, right? That's what we call our group of instructors around the country. And there's a couple of gentlemen in particular who we have come to love and adore, if I may.
GFY, Rob, GFY.
You know who you are. Wonderful gentlemen from the northeast part of our country, but it's been a long time coming. It's something we've known them for a long time, and they're just now becoming Drone U Elite instructors.
Yeah, so a shout out to Dave and John from Northeast Drones. They're our most recent addition to our Drone U Elite team. These are gentlemen through, actually, I think maybe was it 4 or 5 years ago, they actually went through our advanced mapping course.
And coined the most important term here at Drone U.
GFY, yep. Good for you.
Yeah, good
Grateful for you.
Yes,
for you guys.
So grateful for you.
Yeah, so to help, expand with our props, it's in line with what we're trying to do, right? So with props, we have a lot of enterprise customers that require in-person training. And to help add those resources, we're bringing in these pilots that have demonstrated their abilities, and John and Dave have done a lot of really innovative things in New York.
They have.
Great guys.
Even some BVLOS.
Yeah, some drone delivery stuff.
Yeah, they've really
so these guys are on the cutting edge of, the industry, and so we brought them on board, and they're going to be training some of our props enterprise customers.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think they get just sort of naturally, inherently, that idea that to be a little bit more entertaining and engaging and enthusiastic during the training helps people retain and learn, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of folks that we look for. Makes me think of Izzy, who's just, we love Izzy, another gentleman who came to he came to experience training. 18, I think, or was it 19?
Oh, the fly-in, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the fly-in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the fly-in that we had over at Balloon Fiesta Park, and phenomenal dude. And we've just sort of stayed in touch over the years and kind of followed what he's doing, and he's checked in with us, and we've been kind of courting each other, right? Hope you don't mind me saying it that way, Izzy, but just a phenomenal person. Also doing a lot of cutting edge stuff within the drone industry with his own business. And he's another one that's going to be on the team here very, very shortly. I guess we could probably say he already is, but it's those kinds of folks that I'll just say we require, but they're out there.
Yeah,
and
they are.
It's exciting.
And taking time, though, I think is imperative because everyone wants decisive decisions. They want it quick now, tell me yes or no. And it's like, well, over time, I get to really learn who you are.
Yeah.
And I get to really learn, the type of person that's really driving everything. And I think that this goes to an important point about PJ and kind of what drives you, because I think that goes back to the core. And so in an effort for everyone to better understand you, what really does drive you? What is the fuel to your fire? Because I personally have, we've been to 5 dozen trainings together.
Yeah, at least.
And I love watching you work with people. And I think a lot of people know that sometimes I can have a short fuse. I will say last few weeks of changing some things in my life, that fuse has gotten much longer. But you work with people in a way that sometimes I find difficulty with. And I think one of the biggest things that we've learned in the modern work environment is it's not exactly what skills you have, but your capacity to work with different types of personalities. You know, and so I'm wondering, and I'm sure many of our avid followers are wondering, what really drives you? What really fuels you? Why are you here?
Well, I mean, you know, in addition to money, which drives a lot of things, but you know, I jokingly say to Paul, money doesn't always drive me. It's
I was gonna say, I was pretty shocked you led with that.
well, yeah, no, I mean, you know, I do get a lot out of helping other people. You know, it's, you know, in a lot of my past lives, you know, in career-wise, not in other ways, but I've always been someone that has always liked to help people, and, you know, look at any of my jobs, it's somehow helping someone, right, in some way, shape, or form, whether it's, you know, in the telecom space, you know, making sure their cell phones work, right, in the drone space, making sure that the customer is getting the expectations and making sure that their operations are safe, right, because that's a big thing in our industry, right, safe, because a lot of the missions that we do are very risky.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I like to do is highlight that safety and, you know, make sure that these folks that are, you know, going out there or just starting out understand this is serious stuff. You know, we need to maintain the airspace and make sure we're safe up there. So, yeah, I really like, and like I said earlier, you know, taking a pilot that's never touched the sticks and seeing them after a day be able to do figure eights through an obstacle course is actually pretty rewarding.
That transformation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of those instances on video, and I always enjoy watching them when there's somebody that is running the course, and they have a successful run, and the enthusiasm and the cheering and the smiles, and so that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
it's really
fun,
awesome.
It's a fun experience, yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you, where do you see the industry going? Where do you see the future of this?
That's a good question. I think in the last few years we've definitely focused a lot on the drone service providers, the, you know, guys like me that started out with a business, right? Well, I think you know, the enterprise industry or like the large companies are starting to recognize the benefits of drones, right? And they're starting to create their drone programs, some successful and some not. I mean, I think they're seeing that it's very challenging to start a drone program because there's a lot of things that people don't know what they don't know, right?
True.
So that's where Props kind of comes in, is it helps, you know, put a good solid drone program together, because part of that is training. I mean,
I think a large part of it is training, right?
Huge.
Because if you create the systems of communication, systems of operation, systems of administration, there's your program.
Yeah, and honestly, prior to the pandemic, I mean, you said earlier, you and I were traveling all over the country conducting these trainings, right? And two things actually the pandemic has taught me is, one, patience.
Yeah.
Right, that's where I learned a lot of my patience from. And secondly, that you know, a lot of training can be done virtually, right? You know, we recognize that there's a good portion of our training that can be done online, but we also recognize that some of the training we can't just do online. We need to be, you know, put hands on sticks, especially like our flight mastery course and operations course, right?
But I think you and I have really seen how the augmentation of those two things makes such a powerful impact in the student's ability to retain information and be able to grow from that point.
100%. I remember there's me and Matt were, during the pandemic, we, you know, conducted those mapping courses online, and, you know, we did the data acquisition portion of the course, which, as I think everyone would recognize, it's very challenging to do virtually, right?
Yeah.
It was.
But the online stuff, I mean, some of the classroom stuff was fine, but we still needed, to your point, augment that, you know, in person.
Well, and I think the online training augmented with in-person is the true key to success for scale and rapidly scaling, right? Because when you put someone through an online educational program, and you empower the manager to see the statistics of the students, manage the students, see who's field ready versus just says they're field ready, which I know so many managers have run into that issue before. But you can rapidly scale because you can discern, okay, who's taking this seriously, who's caught the bug, who is capable of actually conducting this stuff, and you get to kind of weed through people rather quickly and then send the good ones to the in-person training and just skyrocket their confidence. I mean, I think this is practically why we built Props, is because the revelations that you and I have had during these trainings, and I know, Rob, you've been at a lot of these trainings.
I have.
Then there's also a lot of trainings that, you know, you haven't been able to, unfortunately, join us as well.
Right.
And I think we've learned that having students be prepared just astronomically increases their ability to learn when they are in person. It's like adding a supercharger to an engine.
Right.
You've got to build the right engine with the right systems and understanding, but once you understand those systems, you add the supercharger and you just boost up that efficiency and productivity.
100%. Yeah, I think a vast majority of the training can be done online, hence Props. But also, like you said, PJ, we want to sort of funnel people into hands-on sticks time, because that's where you go from ultimately 0 to hero.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and another benefit of the online stuff, you know, we observe that when, you know, we have a big class of students, there's different degrees of learning, right? Some people learn differently than others. Some people learn faster than others.
Yeah.
With the online training, they can go at their own pace, you know what I mean? Without that
True.
stress of, oh, am I keeping up with the class?
I think that also helps ramp up some of the students who may not have the technical understanding to do certain things, and allow them to like, okay, now I get it. And then they come into class and they're just ripping through information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in terms of sort of once you get a group into the in-person environment, the more that have gone through some of the, or as much as the online content as possible, then you can start to level the playing field. Instead of having this disparity between skill sets,
Yeah.
maybe you squeeze it to this, making the in-person time that much more effective. So it can, it's, in the end, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good, pretty good recipe for success.
Yeah.
So outside of bringing on new instructors, scaling instruction, working with Props, who are the type of people that you're really going to be working with, and in what verticals? Because I kind of want to end the show by opening up the door for any of you, you know, in construction, engineering, I guess I'm naming the verticals for you, and, you know, things like geospatial intelligence, any GIS related stuff, you know, utility inspections, cell tower inspections, power line inspections. I know you right now are running a contract for us with one of the largest utility companies in the entire country.
Yeah, I absolutely love to have that opportunity to work with them. It's been an eye-opening experience because you know, they're trying to scale their own internal drone program, right? And they recognize that they need training, and so in addition to training, they need documentation, and so that's something else that we've been doing for them, is creating manuals on their behalf.
A great part of Props too, right? That all-encompassing, comprehensive system, not just training, documentation, again, administrative systems.
Yeah.
I say these things after thinking about them for so long, but I don't think we do a good job of communicating what it entails, you know? That's my fault, not yours, by the way.
Of course, yeah. So I mean,
PJ's like, I just got here.
yeah, but you know, so we've been working with the utilities, we're working with the telecommunication companies, we're working with public safety. We have our partners at FDNY that have, you know, a shout out to those guys too. They're doing fantastic work in that space.
Yeah, definitely. So who, outside of who you're working with now, who are the type of people that you're going to be focusing on in working with?
Yeah, so any like large company that is interested in training a large number of pilots consistently in order to make sure that their operations are safe, they're standardized, and everybody's on the same page when it comes to expectations, right? They want to know that everybody's trained. They want to be able to have a snapshot in time of where everybody's at. You know, it's a challenge starting a drone program, and you know, we've seen that. So we've seen ones that have failed too.
So many.
Too many, unfortunately.
Right? Because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to take care of, and props is really designed to kind of help guide them through that process.
So let's have some fun with this before we end.
All right.
Okay. What is 2 questions? Number 1, what's your favorite thing about Drone U? Okay.
He's like, that's not fun.
Oh, hold on. And what's the number 1 thing that you despise the most about me?
Yikes.
I said we would make it fun.
How long do we have?
Hey. Hey, well, I mean, you know, in order to have a good team, you've got to have the feedback loop open,
Absolutely.
right? You know,
100%.
and our business can only be as good as our personal capacities.
Communication, baby.
Yeah. So.
Well, truth be
Radical
told,
transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So truth be told, my favorite thing is, you know, it still always will be, you know, the in-person training, like getting out there and with other students and flying with them, you know. When I'm out there, you know, I have to remind myself I'm getting paid for this, right?
Yeah.
You know, I used to laugh when people, or I always used to be like, find people where they'd say, I really love my job. And I was like, what's that like? Well, I'm finally at a point where I can say, I really love my job. I really do. I truly do.
Good.
To answer your second question, what was it? Despise?
What do you despise the most about me?
Despise,
Or what do you hate about me? Or what do you, where do you feel like I could use some improvement?
well, it's
PJ, it's been nice having you, buddy.
well, it's kind of a double-edged sword because there's pros and cons to this characteristic that you have is the no filter. And I say that because on the plus side, it's nice not having a filter because when people hear you, they know what's coming out of you is honest, right? So the filter to lie and like maybe say something to appease something, yeah, that doesn't exist. So there's no filter there, and I respect that and I like that. But on the same side, the filter's not there, so sometimes you could say things that, you know, might not be appropriate. And yeah, sometimes that'll come across. But
You tired of picking up crap? Is that what you're talking about?
I try to prevent it from happening, but sometimes I'm not always.
I think what PJ is trying to say is there may have been some bridges burned, and I'm not here to rebuild them.
No, I'll say this. You've been pretty good about rebuilding bridges that we thought were burned, and maybe they weren't quite as damaged as we thought.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your favorite drone to fly?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, you're going to start a fire here with this one, depending on how he answers. So.
Yeah, so I have 2 favorite drones.
Oh no.
Now there's 2. See, it's tough because for work, you know, the Phantom 4 Pro has always been the go-to, right? It's been the workhorse because from a mapping perspective, it just delivers, right?
Yeah.
It just delivers.
Still a powerhouse.
It's still a powerhouse. That's not to say it's the absolute best drone. I'm just saying it's a good go-to drone for everything that I need.
It's a great all-in-one.
Yeah.
That's what I said in my Anafi review is like, it's almost impossible to create a great all-in-one drone like the Phantom.
Yeah.
And I thought the Anafi did a great job of trying to be an all-in-one. It's not quite there yet. I don't think we've seen a single drone that even compares, to be honest with you.
And that's not to say it doesn't have its shortcomings, but like I said, it's a good go-to for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Honestly, the other drone that that's just fun to fly has been the Skydio. Just
All right,
because.
end the show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No.
Which one?
And you'll see this as, you know, people talk with me that me and Paul don't always agree, which is fine.
That's
because
good.
if there's one thing I've learned in business, if 2 people in the business always agree, one of them is redundant, right? So it's
One of them is an ass kisser.
And so yeah, it's fine. So the Skydio 2 is fun to fly. You know, I have not used the Skydio for any, you know, business related work. That's not to say the X2 isn't ready for that, but it's just a fun drone to fly.
Well, I think that there are certain instances where that drone does really great. Speaking of Skydio, you know, you think of environments like power line distribution centers.
Absolutely.
Where you've got a lot of interference already. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, this is where not allowing the pilot to be in control actually is a benefit.
Yeah.
Because when with all of their drones, the pilot, as it's stated in the law, is supposed to have emergency access to the controls at all time, right? But there are certain environments where that might not actually be the best solution.
Right. It might not be the safest solution either, right?
Yeah, and so this is probably the only time that I can think of that prioritizing the autonomy over pilot input is actually a safety thing.
Yeah.
Because when you're in an environment like a power distribution area, lots of interference, the interference is negated because the autonomy is in control. So there's no radio signal to really worry about, you know?
Controller doesn't matter.
And one question that we always get is, hey, what drone should I buy? Well, most of the answers that I give usually are, begin with, it depends, right? And Skydio X2 is one of them. It's a perfect drone for certain situations. It's not the best drone for every situation, but you can't say that about any other drone either.
Well, 100%. And, back to your point regarding the Phantom, it's almost like if Boeing were to stop producing the 737, right? It just doesn't make sense what DJI is doing right now. And I think they're opening up the door for competition because there's just nothing like that. Everything else they're producing, Rob, you want a map? Buy an M300 P1, 25 grand later. You're like, I could buy 10 Phantoms for this, Yep. And that's why I think we're going to see, and I've already actually seen 2 companies do this now, of like, if you remember the Discovery Channel Monster Garage, we're going to see Monster Hangar, where they're literally bringing Phantoms back to life and like these old drones that fly like a dream.
Well, you can see them already. It's probably the only drone, period, that has appreciated in value.
Seriously, good point.
Because we get, like you said, we get the questions all the time from constituents, members, listeners, whatever, about what drone should I buy for X, Y, and Z, and yes, it depends, but for most of them, you could just say, get a Phantom. But so I've looked a little bit and they're up in price. If you can find one, it's probably going to be refurbished and it's probably 50% more than it would have cost new.
Yeah.
So to me, that says it all.
What you're trying to say, Rob, at least that I hear, is that us pilots who have stuck to our guns, not followed the YouTube hype machine, are actually making more money because our assets are appreciating, even though we get to depreciate them on our taxes.
I don't know if I was saying that or not. I try not to mess with YouTube at all. Those people can be sensitive.
I'm
Anyways.
just saying there's a lot of hype around all these new drones and they offer half the features. And I'm like, why are you guys so excited?
Yeah. Okay, so the next most important question, what's your favorite dessert? And I'm asking this just in case somebody wanted to send you a little gift.
Or if they're at an in-person training and they want to give a special thank you to PJ,
No.
there is a way to his heart.
What is your favorite dessert?
So, my favorite dessert is key lime pie, hands down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So people that travel
It's
with
not
me...
like I haven't seen that on your expense reports 100 times.
Yeah, at the end of a meal, I'm usually asking, if they have key lime pie. That's usually my go-to dessert. So that's my number one.
I'm right there with you.
It's good stuff.
It's a hell of a good choice.
Well, PJ, we are extremely grateful to have you on this team, this flight crew. A lot of people look up to you. I look up to you as well. I'm still learning, many dad jokes from you. I'm also still learning actually a lot about being a good family man from you, like seriously. And so I will just say from the bottom of my heart, I am so happy and I've waited such a long time to have you on full-time, full board.
Yeah, he didn't make it easy on us.
No, you sure
This
did
guy.
not.
Happy to be here. Yeah, we're all learning.
We're very grateful for you.
We are.
Same here. Yeah, we're all learning, and we'll continue to learn.
Well, on that bombshell, PJ, GFY, we're happy to have you and welcome to the team.
Game on.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you again for joining us. We actually have a lot of announcements coming up. Our new props programs, we've got a new props directors as well that will be under PJ. So we're actually growing his team at scale very quickly. So we're going to have a lot of announcements. We appreciate you joining us. If you want to meet PJ, maybe you're starting a drone program, maybe you've had a drone program, you just wanted to work a little bit more efficiently and build confidence in your pilots to create professional, reliable operators that practice safety, that's our props program. You're gonna have to reach out to PJ. You can email him pjk@thedroneu.com if you are interested in working with him and his team, which is growing at rapid scale. So thank you very much from all of us. Rob, I think we covered it, yeah?
I think so. We're always here if you have questions, or like you said, if you want to meet PJ or get a demo on props or whatever, we'd love to hear from you.
Definitely. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Ask Drone U.